It's love, redemption, and the rebirth of the soul. It's a man being able to be reborn even through horrific loss and being able to realize he can love again and he can find family again, and when enough time has passed and you allow yourself to be open to certain things again, I think then the universe brings them to you. It's almost like his soul was cleansed in this film.
There was no lofty inspiration to begin with. Doug, Sky, Conway, and I were watching the Yankees play in I think a playoff game. And I had also another friend over named Tony Frangakis, who was in the original Blob. And the Blob, it turns out, was Doug, Sky, Conway's, one of his favorite science fiction movies. We talked about that a little bit, and he said, God, I'd love to do a movie like that, with something coming from outer space. And there's a huge gap in my mind as to how we got from there to my writing this script. This is basically a love story, and it's about a man who carries a tremendous burden of guilt and learns through the course of the story to relinquish that incredible pain through the love of someone else. He has lost his child and his wife. Another quote-unquote child comes into his life. And it is through that love that he finds this kind of purification, Don't make that sound religious, because that's not what this story is about at all. Unfortunately, or depending on how you feel about these things, the story doesn't necessarily end that well in terms of happy endings. But I just wanted to examine the whole process of loss and how that would impact the introduction of this character, this little alien creature. Because he starts out feeling, this is a scientific anomaly, but it should be studied. He has a very objective scientific position. Then he's horrified because this thing is actually growing inside of him, and he thinks it's a parasite. And then it discovers that it actually has some human components and carries some of his DNA. He begins to feel that, okay, this is the cross he has to bear. It actually changes to bonding with this little being. And when he does come into the world, he fights desperately to keep it. And the government, to them, it's a very strange, threatening creature, and they're trying to take it away. The third act is mostly a trial or a court hearing, and we examine the writ of habeas corpus. The government is keeping this being without due cause, without showing cause, locking it away. Certainly about fatherhood, certainly about love, about how it can be so totally uncompromising. I mean, you have a child, you love that child, you'll do anything for it. I mean, it's part of our genetic makeup. If we didn't have that, if we didn't have the need of the parent to protect the child, we would die out as a species.
So, in order to look into the girls' shower from the boys' side, you had to jump up, grab the cold water pipe. The problem is that the hot water pipe ran underneath the cold water pipe. I had the absolute worst burns of everybody who tried it, practically third degree.
Yeah, that happened to me. When I was in school, the boys and girls, high school, we shared the same swimming pool. From our shower, there was a very small window at the top of the wall. And if you could get up there, you could look into the swimming pool. And it was the end of the year, and the girls, for some reason, weren't wearing swimming suits. They weren't wearing the bathing suits. But in order to reach up and be able to look in through the window into the swimming pool, you had to leap for a cold water pipe that ran parallel to the floor. But underneath the cold water pipe was a hot water pipe. So when you grabbed the cold water pipe, your elbows swung into the hot water pipe. And I ended up getting literally third-degree burns because I stayed up there longer than anybody. As we say in the story, I was the horniest voyeur of them all.
You're right. That is embarrassing.
This thing was so creepy. And then the one that they attached to Richard yesterday, they made me touch it in the scene. And I was like, oh, this is no big deal because, it just feels like styrofoam. Then I guess they put in these things that make it pulse and pump and stuff. And the next time I touched it, they covered it with goo. It's just like KY all over. And now the thing's pulsing like it's gonna explode. It was nasty. My favorite film of all time was Aguirre, The Wrath of God by Werner Herzog. And it's a brilliant film with Klaus Kinski. I just loved it. However, one of my idols is Mae West. So I would have to say it would be in Go West Young Man or My Little Chickadee or definitely a Mae West picture. Gary Graham was awesome too. We didn't get as much of a chance to work together, but I think he's great. I'm just so incredibly proud to be part of this production, and I I thank him for believing in me and giving me the opportunity to do something a little different as an actress and as a young actress. To be able to play this sort of role is absolutely wonderful, and I thank him for that. He really has a sense of how to speak to actors and how to reach something in them that really prepares them, especially for a deeply emotional scene. He would come into our trailers or sit with us beforehand and talk to us and really see what we were feeling in the scene and where we wanted to go with things. And I really, truly appreciate that, because very often you don't have time, or it's just not something that's thought of, or I am the type of actor, though, that I love to hear what other people's opinions are, and I love the guidance, and I think that he really offered that, and it was amazing to work for him. They rehearsed that stunt scene 1.5 million times, and then the first take, his hand gets caught on the guy's badge, and you can feel him rip it off. I just got fake hurt. I got fake blood, fake hurt. Fake hurt's okay. I was waiting for like some big catastrophe, but so far it's been rather safe, and they've been watching out for us, and I'm neurotic with that stuff. I don't want to have to explain that to Mom. Well, growing up in this industry, I started working when I was 3 years old. I've been doing this 23 years now, and it's interesting growing up how you have to sort of break away from first, being seen as a child, and then being seen in teenage roles, and then sort of, you can very easily get stuck in the whole horror movie scream queen type of thing, and it's been really nice to, especially in this production, to sort of get away from that and try something a little different. I would like to keep challenging myself as an artist and keep trying different things and applying, my own education and my own knowledge into the roles that I play, and especially something like this gave me that opportunity. It's an amazing life, and it's an amazing industry, and I wouldn't trade my world and how I've grown up in it for anything. I had an amazingly supportive family and incredible opportunities. As I get older, it's just, there's so many more things to do out there, and so many incredible people I'd love to work with. I get to give birth, but not actually. I get to take a baby out of a man. Obviously, it's extremely metaphorical for how people are thought of if they're different or if they don't fit in. And I've always considered myself a geek and a misfit. And my early 20s, my teenage years, everything, I didn't spend like you hear about most other people, my age. And I spend my time at libraries, and I spend my time at museums and traveling as much as I can. And so I know what it's like to sort of be perceived as odd or weird or different. And I've learned, hopefully, not to give other people that I meet along the way an opportunity to get to know them before judging them.
It was a great experience and a great crew, one of the best crews I've ever worked with.
Well, for one, it's sci-fi, and I always love sci-fi, because there are things that you can say in sci-fi that are meaningful and all of that stuff without it being too close to reality, and people can hear the message, if there is one, a lot better. So I've always enjoyed sci-fi for that. It was one of the things that I loved about Star Trek, and on and on and on. And I asked Walter what he felt the story was about. Of course, I had my own ideas, having worked on my part and being, the consummate professional that I am, I only worried about my part. It all evolves around me. So, of course, my message was pretty clear. But Walter came up with this absurd notion that it's a love story, for God's sakes. What does he know? He wrote it, and he's starring in it, he's the producer. I know better. To me, what the story was about was the point of being different and what sort of rights, human rights we have, and what we're denied just because we may or may not be different. Racism or bigotry or whatever it may be, I'm very interested in what the driving force is behind that, how it affects people, and in terms of really what constitutes racism. And it's not about the big things, the lynchings and so on and so forth. But what's fascinating is the little things. It's the little moves, the slight shifts, the slight condescension that's so hard to actually put a finger on, and you can't confront it. If someone came up to you and wanted to lynch you, of course, you can confront it. It's something. It's in your face. That's the part about racism that I find is so erosive. Before you realize it, you start buying into it yourself. Paranoid about his surroundings and what he's conscious of it. He's aware that he is paranoid. He's trying to treat it. I play him, I hate to say straight, but he just pretty much head on, and the humor seems to come out better that way. I loved it. I really enjoyed it, and it was one of the compelling things about doing this. And of course the crew. I've worked with these guys, with Corona and that gang now a couple of times. That's a vacation for me. And if you believe that, there's a bridge I want to sell you. Walter, as a kid watching Star Trek, I was in complete awe, and I said, if I could get on that show, I would have made it. I did, and I still haven't made it, but that whole group, you're working with icons. It takes a little while to break down those walls. Of course, he's so self-effacing, and he's so easy that it did make it very pleasant, very easy to work with him. Work. Work as much as you can. And that's one of the joys of working low-budget movies, is that you really, really get to work and work that muscle, which you don't do when you're shooting a big-budget film. You sit in your trailer for most part of the day. If you're acting 3 minutes out of the day, you're doing pretty well. Do as much theater as you can. That's certainly my first love. In fact, I started quite by accident in India. I was recruited to work. I went to boarding school, and you don't argue with Jesuits. That it was a Shakespearean troupe. So I started doing that at 9. Very early, I caught the bug, and I knew that's what I wanted to do. And that led me to England and back and forth between England and India. But I knew Broadway was where I wanted to be. Of course, it was many, many, many years later that I was able to finally get on Broadway. Just have a good work ethic, show up on time, never be late, never have your name called twice on a set, know your words, don't bump into the furniture. After that, it's gravy. That's what keeps people working, is just being professional.
Well, actually, I was shown this material many years ago, this script. Well, I can't remember exactly how long ago, but I was young enough to play the lead when I was shown it. Well, when Walter asked me if I'd be interested in playing a different role, and it was a lawyer, I actually was thrilled, because I've never played a lawyer before. And courtroom dramas are my favorite shows. My performance here is my own personal homage to Law & Order, which is my favorite show on television. I had an Angie Harmon moment yesterday, a little bitchy moment. I'm actually enjoying playing this role, I think, more than many, many, many others that I've played. I'm having a really great time. If I hadn't been an actor, I might have been a lawyer. I think a good trial lawyer is like a good actor. They have to totally believe what they're saying to sell it to the jury, like, an actor sells it to the audience.
She has such an incredible voice and an amazing presence.
Man, she's such a consummate professional. It was a joy to work with her. It was great. We just sort of flew with the material and could bounce off each other, and it was really fun.
We have a very dramatic court case that takes place that really explores the sense of what is human. I mean, if it's 30% human, if it's 40% human, do we treat it like an animal? Do we treat it like an insect? Something that is part human and part something else. How do we look at it? Could we experiment with it? Do we kill it? Is it going to kill us? That really examines the morality of that and the inhumanity of it and the humanness of it.
Richard Hatch, well, of course, I've run into all these guys over the years at conventions. I've never, ever really spoken to Richard. We kind of pass each other in hallways. He's wonderful, very talented actor. I was a huge fan of Battlestar Galactica, and actually I'm a huge fan of the new one too. It's great to actually get to work with people that you kind of know socially. It kind of cuts through that awkward getting to know each other moment, because you've already got some kind of connection. And it just makes it all much easier.
Marina Sirtis is, I've watched her on stage, I've watched her in movies. She's an extraordinary actress. She is powerful, she is dynamic, she is compassionate, she is thoughtful, she has a penetrating intelligence about her. When you talk to her, she reaches right inside of you, and I think she does that on the screen as well. And she plays a really, really strong character.
I mean, today's scene, actually, I was making jokes about it, because when the fight broke out, my initial reaction, like gut reaction, was get out of the shot, because this is going to take so long. And I realized that when you're young and starting out in the business, you actually try to get into more scenes for the extra screen time. Once you get older and you know what all that entails, you do the exact opposite. You go up to the camera operator and say, if you see any part of me in this shot, tell me and I'll move out of the shot.
I'm gonna kill you! Look on my bird! Oh, shit.
It was lovely, actually, when they brought the creature in, because when I actually looked at it, I felt a certain sympathy for it, because although it's kind of weird looking, there's a sweet quality to it, too. I kind of felt bad being so mean about it, but that's the character. They've done a really good job with him. I think he is exactly what you need. It's different enough that he could be regarded as a threat, but sweet enough, like E.T. was, that you have a certain compassion for him.
I now call for Exhibit A.
Objection, Your Honor. Order! No! You can't! Okay, you don't bring him in here! Order in the court! Don't bring him in here, please! Please do not bring him in here!
This is what the petitioner would have you believe is someone's child.
Jesus Christ, get away from me! Wait! Get him out of here! Just get him out of here! Jesus Christ! I'm gonna kill you! Oh. Get away from him! Jesus Christ! Who was the devil? Go back, go! Get out! That is your sport. It's the ascension of people. It will kill the human race! Scott. No! Don't shoot him! Scott.
Doing 7 years of a TV show was the best training that any actor can have. I was in acting class when I got the job, and I went up to my teacher and said, I probably won't be able to come back to class because I got a series. And he said, you'll learn everything you need to know on the job. You don't need to come back here. And he was right. I mean, I remember when I first started in movies and TV that I'd get really nervous, when the director said action, and it would kind of take me out of the moment. That went very quickly after being in front of the camera for so long, and now I don't even notice the camera's there. I mean, obviously there are technical things you have to be aware of positioning and things like that, but as far as emotional content, it's training on the job, and every part teaches you something different.
Hey, Walter. Oh my goodness. That's like, oh, I was going to park. Oh, that's like.
Well, I love Walter. I mean, I've known Walter for 20 years now. He's a sweet, sweet guy. One of the perks, actually, is that I've gotten to know his wife and his son on this movie, and although I've met Judy before, I'd never really talked to her in any length. He's a very talented actor. Sometimes I think people forget that, and it was really wonderful working with him today because he was super in the scene that he did with me today. Bob is a wonderful director. He keeps coming up to thank me for things. It's only because I'm an old busybody and I stick my nose into everybody's business, but sometimes I come up with a good idea. It's a very nice set. We're under the gun. We've got to shoot this movie in a very short time. That in itself could lead to some tension. It hasn't so far. Everyone seems to be getting along really well, and we're all in it together, and we're trying to make the best movie that we can, and I think it's going to be okay. What would I tell young actors? Well, first of all, never give up. People will try to dissuade you. People were always trying to tell me that I shouldn't be an actor because actors, were poor and starving, and only 2% ever made it. Ignore that, and do what your heart tells you. When you audition for something, learn the lines. A lot of actors go in reading, and they read the lines. You can't give a performance when you're reading the lines. You have to know them. And go in and give a performance. The casting directors are desperate to find a person to fill that slot. They're praying that it's you, that finally somebody's walked in that's right for this role. It's not an us and them thing. I mean, a lot of actors have that thing that, it's them against us. We're all in this together. But be prepared. Do the work. There is luck in this business, but I've always said that luck is when opportunity meets preparation.
I don't know if you know the history of GalaxyOnline.com. Sky, who I know as Doug, had this website. It was a science fiction website. It was actually, before that, it was supposed to be a film production company. This was one of the projects that they were supposed to be doing, and that was back in, I think, 99? I don't know if he wrote the part for me, but I think he had always intended for me to do it, so. He's writing the novelization of it, so there's more of the character, and then there was supposed to be more in the script, and because of time constraints and budget constraints, they had to cut down stuff, so. I came up with this backstory that he works in this lab, but he's sort of there as a mole for an extreme religious organization, and that he's there to keep tabs on the scientists. And when he finds out that there's this alien, it's like the biggest thing, and he takes it upon himself to do something about it. It's not until he's actually in the courtroom that he decides that he's going to kill it, but he feels that it's his duty to make sure that this thing doesn't get out. I did my first play when I was 12. I did an opera at the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion. I didn't sing. I was a non-singing role. And around that time, I also got to be a dancer in the opening ceremonies of the 1984 Olympics, which was kind of hysterical. I'm not a dancer, but somehow they managed to cast me anyways. I did one of those People's Choice Awards. It was a E.T. recreation. I was a kid on a bike. A couple years later, I got that first role on Growing Pains. It was just meant to be an episode. They just decided to call us back and make us recurring characters. During that, I started taking improv classes. That's what I do a lot now. I do a lot of improv now and sketch comedy and that sort of thing. And my mom also enrolled me in a film class, in a Super 8 film class back in the day. Oh, boy. Yeah.
They blind.
Was that their choice or what?
It's my choice.
This is Ben, camera operator. Thanks, Ben. I was born in the last year of that show, so it wasn't a regular thing in my life until it was in syndication and people were watching, and that's when it really became popular. Oftentimes when people say, oh, his dad's on Star Trek, he says, which one? He's Mr. Sulu? I go, yeah, it's Mr. Sulu. So, I'd have to explain, the Russian, they go, oh. So people kind of knew, but didn't, and it's not like my father is Robert Redford or somebody, it wasn't like we were going to Hollywood parties or anything like that either. Everybody assumes because he had this role in this television series that he had it made, and it's not the case. It makes buco bucks for Paramount, but they didn't have a residual contracts like they do now. And that's why everyone was demanding big money for the movies, because it's like, hey, really surprised that they were going to make more after that first one.
I'm holding up so very well. I don't know why, but it must be my many years of theater. Yes, I'm going to sci-fi conventions here and there. Whoa, crap.
Hi, I'm Rob Sound. That's Brad acting.
Actor, little star.
It looks like the hardest thing is to breathe in that thing, right?
It is
And it gets really hot too, huh? Under the mask.
Yeah, especially under the lights when it's 20 degrees warmer. It was a long day and it held up pretty well. Went home, got a good night's sleep, rested the next day, and here I am back.
He's pretty much the star of the show,
It's inalienable, right? I'm in the title.
I thought, well, she has a speech about, would you want your kids anywhere near this? And I thought, my kids would love this guy.
Aliens are lovable too.
They're lovable, then they kill you, and then they're lovable.
I never killed anybody.
No, actually, it just goes, ah. But the tentacles, I think, to us humans are...
I know, you're just threatened by my tentacles.
Hey, don't touch me
just
there.
Just because you feel a little inadequate, sorry.
Oh, Brad. Step away from the sound card.
And, I agree. If I saw an alien out there, I might be a little freaked out, too.
How do you think that went?
It went good. Some of the tentacle movement probably needs to be a little more tightened up. And I think we sheared a tentacle cable, which is...
the upper right one?
Yeah. But, that's how this stuff is. It works all the way up until someone stands in front of it. But we'll, just restring it and we'll be good to go.
No, that's not going to happen overnight. And be persistent. And understand that there are many factors involved. Looks is a big one. Do you look the part to the people casting? Doesn't mean that you're not right for it, but in their mind, do you look the part? There's political factors. There's, all you can do is be the best actor you can and hope for the best. Be busy as an actor. Just, a lot of people take classes, and that's fine. Performing, just getting out there and performing and doing it, and just over and over, and just play is a good training for that. Having said that, I don't like most plays, so I don't do plays that often. I got into acting because I wanted to be in films. I wanted to be on that giant screen. So, and whatever it is that you want to do, you got to do it. You can't. I've known so many people over the years who call themselves actors or directors or whatever, but they're not doing anything. They just think in their mind that that's what they are. And until they actually do something, they don't want to get their hands dirty. I think the truth is they don't want to admit to themselves that they're not who they say they are. You know, they like the idea of the image, but they're not actually willing to get into it. And, you know, people get into acting for different reasons. I mean, there are people that are horrible who get work all the time. They have looks, or who knows why. There's a million things, and so you can't take it personally if you don't get a gig, because there's a lot of rejection involved. And, you know, they always say have a real job, and, you know, if you can make your money doing something else first, then you can live comfortably and not have to, you know, suffer, you know. Well, you know, a lot of actors end up being waiters and stuff to keep their...
Yeah, well, the late Marvin Gaye's dad killed him. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
I worked for Sound Research once.
I wish I could do that.
Worked for him one day. It's okay.
Put you in tights and a tutu.
Dude,
You're busted.
every little thing I do.
Well, I'm a law professor in real life, and I'm a former assistant district attorney, a former assistant state's attorney from Cook County, Illinois, which is Chicago, where I tried murder trials. And become an academic. I'm now a law professor at Georgetown Law School. I'm the Carmack Waterhouse Professor of Legal Theory there. And wrote a book called The Structure of Liberty, and the producer of this film read it years ago, and it sort of changed the way I look at things. And it's about rights, and it's about inalienable rights. So he thought I had something to say with respect to the script years ago. When he came at me with the script years ago, I didn't really have time because of everything I was doing to really look at it. But this time around, when he did come back with the script, I was able to take a look at it and sort of help out. And in the meantime, there was this part in there for an assistant to the district attorney that he had in mind for me, and I was just like so thrilled that he thought that I could do it, and also that it sort of fit my schedule. Since school had just let out, I just finished grading my exams, and I sent a book manuscript off to the publisher, and I was free to do it. I have a case book in contracts, a case book in constitutional law I just finished, but the two books of mine that are the books people would read are The Structure of Liberty, Justice and the Rule of Law, and the other one is Restoring the Lost Constitution, the Presumption of Liberty. So the first is about what rights we have as individuals, and the second is about how the Constitution should better protect those rights. Well, this is just a thrill. I mean, I've watched Star Trek since the first run of the original Star Trek. I mean, when I was 14 years old, Star Trek came on, and I watched every episode as a kid, and I watched every Star Trek. I didn't watch as much other sci-fi. Star Trek was somehow the gold standard, and everything else seemed fake to me. Only Star Trek seemed real, and I bought it all the way through. So I watched every episode of Next Generation. The idea that I would be sitting next to Marina Sirtis in a situation like this for 4 solid days when we have nothing really else to do but to talk to each other is just like a kind of a dream come true. It's like, I still can't believe it's true. Well, Walter, I watched him as Chekhov as a kid. You know, he doesn't have quite the sex appeal that Marina has, but he came up and chatted me up and we started talking about things. I mean, you know, that was just amazing. And I happen to be in a movie that has a character named after me, Randall Barnett, expert witness in constitutional law. It just so happens by coincidence he's the Carmack Waterhouse Professor of Constitutional Law at Georgetown Law School. I don't know how that happened. It just is an amazing coincidence.
You don't need to do this. The case is won.
I was instructed to win this case at any cost, and that's exactly what I intend to do.
There's an undercurrent theme here that isn't expressed. It's actually so subtle that the name of the movie, Inalienable, is a reflection of this undercurrent, and that is the notion of inalienable rights and the idea that even aliens have inalienable rights. And it also is the notion of whether the Constitution protects persons or human beings. And in this case, we have someone who's not a human being, but the argument is that the Constitution protects even persons who are not human beings, and this really only happens in sci-fi, because in the world we normally inhabit, the only persons we know are human beings. But in the world of sci-fi, we also know there's lots and lots of persons who are not human beings, and it's funny that the Constitution doesn't mention human beings. It only mentions citizens and persons. So there's no reason why the Constitution, the way it's written, should be limited to human beings. It challenges you to think about what a person is, because it's a person who deserves the protection of the Constitution, and it challenges you to realize that human beings are not the only possible persons. And you have to ask yourself, well, what makes a person a person? Why is this alien a person and not just octopi, as Prosecutor Barry suggests? It forces the audience to answer that question. Why is this creature not a creature, but a person. And if he is a person, then the Constitution applies to him as well.
I have a lot of screenplays tucked away in drawers. Some of them had been optioned, some of them came close, but this is the first one really in terms of features that I'm actually able to put up on the screen. When I originally wrote this, I wrote myself to play the lead, Erick. Time was passing, and I could see the results of that in my bathroom mirror, that it was becoming less and less believable that I would be the heroic figure. Somewhere after the second or third year of trying to get it made, I decided, discretion being the better part of valor here, that I would perhaps bow out of that role and look at the character of Schilling, who is the antagonist in the story. Very bitter man, but not without some humanity. You know, not a two-dimensional character. You find out late in the story that if you cannot condone his behavior, you can at least understand it. I think that's very appealing. I think it's more realistic for me to play this character. We got a terrific guy playing the lead, Richard Hatch.
Yeah, Walter's sick. He's very sick. He needs a lot of help. I think Walter at some point had to have some really horrible form of violation happen to him. I'm sure that at some point they're going to come take him away and experiment on Walter is a great guy. He walks around and he walks very slow and very thoughtful. He seems to be very self-reflective, very inside. You know, you kind of get a feeling about Walter, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he'll do the most hysterically funny, crazy thing. He has a very dry wit. He broke out and did a soft shoe. I mean, not a little subtle, he did this really great soft shoe. And then he gets up and he moves and does all this crazy stuff, and he looks like he's 16 years old. And then he goes back and he's Walter again. He's walking around and he looks like he's like moving around like a 90-year-old. But you realize there's a little kid in Walter. But somehow he keeps it in the box. And then every once in a while he opens the box and this little kid jumps out and he's like 15 years old again. He's an amazing guy. He runs 6 miles a day. He works out. He's in great shape. You know, in our fight scene together, I let him have a feeling of domination by beating me up and doing all that stuff. I saw that was getting Walter excited, so I let him, you know, manhandle me a little bit, and then I kicked his ass and threw him on the floor. So, you know, but just understand that it was acting, and I was trying to be kind, but the director kept saying, "Beat him up, hit him, cause him pain. Come on, it's got to be real. You got to be believable." So, Walter, if you're out there, and I know you're all banged up and hurt a little bit, I apologize. I didn't mean to hit you so hard, honestly. You know, but it works for the movie.
Well, you know, I already see the ad. What do Stargate, Battlestar Galactica, Star Trek the original series, Star Trek Next Generation, Heroes have in common? Inalienable. It wouldn't have worked if we didn't have strong actors in those roles. I mean, these people are all extremely well qualified, very capable. And I think, you know, it'll be surprising to some of the fans to see actors take on roles that are quite different from what they're used to seeing them play. It's just a plus that we have names that the science fiction fan base will recognize and might be curious enough to want to check it out. You know, if he's qualified to run around in pajamas, you know, Star Trek costuming, then he certainly could be, you know, present-day human beings in suits and ties. So we got J.G. Hertzler, we've got Gary Graham, we have Alan Ruck. I think he brings a lot of detail and a very precise sense of what he's doing. I have enormous confidence in his visual perspective and how he's shooting the film. Working with him in the past, at that point he picked me, this time I picked him. He operates in a very specific way. Detail is very important to the way he works. We're not going to say afterwards, "Oh God, we missed the shot, or we should have gotten this." It'll be there. It'll all be there. I came in late in the afternoon, and my scene was a scene in the laboratory bathroom with Richard, with Erick. He's dealing with a situation that he's trying to conceal. My character carries a great deal of very negative feeling about Richard's character, based on things that have happened in the past. My. I had no idea you were so shy. Is it modesty, I wonder? Or guilt?
Guilt.
Covering up the scene of the crime. You did go out with Amanda last night, didn't you?
That's what being close to someone means to you, the scene of the crime?
But because they see each other on a daily basis, our choice was not to overemphasize the bitterness, not to play the bitterness. It's certainly there in the lines. The admonition that one should always give actors is let the lines carry the attitude in the story. My choice was to make it almost casual, but tense. Not to bare my teeth and clench my jaw and any of that kind of thing. To young actors, get out while you can. Run. I heard that 40 years ago when I was starting out. Yeah, that's what I have to communicate to young actors. It's a tough business, guys. It's a very tough business. And I came up during a time when I don't think it was as competitive as it is now. But if you've sworn an oath, if you've sealed it in blood and you need to do this, then that's what you have to do. You should not be dissuaded by me or by anybody else. You just, put your head down and go forward, advance on the business. It can be very rewarding, it can be very gratifying. It can be incredibly depleting emotionally and in terms of ego. It can really, you can really suffer significantly in terms of self-image. I mean, it has all that, but it also, can boost you. It can make you feel like you're making a worthwhile contribution, that you have an audience out there that appreciates you. You gotta love it. You gotta want to perform. Is it create or interpret? I'm not really sure, but you want to do that. You want to place your stamp on the character. You want to express yourself through that character. There can be an enormous reward in doing it well. And of course, then there's all the acclaim and the notoriety and the celebrity and all of that stuff, which you can't turn your back on. I mean, that's part of it. And anybody who denies that they enjoy that, I think, is possibly blowing smoke. Everybody should study either in a class or doing theater. I think theater is the most advantageous circumstance. If you can find, little theater, the 99-seat theater in LA, there's 100 of them, and get cast and roll and play it for 6 or 8 weeks. Learn about your craft as you do so. That's the way to build a career, not hiring a publicity agent and, and heralding your coming.
How about this one? How about a younger version? This is Sam. Well, this is yeah. Nice to see you.
Boy, I'm gonna regret this later. I'm sorry. Yes.
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 I've had a great time playing the role. I've never had to play such an emotionally wrenching role as this. And for all of you that watch movies, we don't just phone it in. It's you don't just turn a little switch on and boom, it's all there. Maybe 1% of 1% of 1% of actors out there, especially the most fracked up ones, can get right to it. But it really forces you to dig in deep and go places that most of us never want to go. And I must say that it's really wore me out, exhausted me, and at the same time inspired me. So it's been a pretty powerful experience for me.
This is my sister Ashley. She's visiting today. She got to visit and check out the set and see what she's doing. She brought cookies.
Yeah. Oh, I think it looks amazing. It's huge back here. The stage they have set up and everything looks really great. I got to see Courtney in her little, doctor's robe, her scientist robe, with her glasses, looking so good.
Are you going to make fun of her for the glasses?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll answer that. I was actually thinking for the blue robe.
Already worked out.
Got hot smog.
Oh, okay.
Everybody's saying we sound so much alike.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
You do.
Same voice.
Well, next time you wear the glasses.
Definitely. I think that's a good idea. I feel that there is
She's
hope.
a little pervert, is what she is. I'm telling you right now, I know everything about this girl. We spent nights in preparation for those love scenes. Let me tell you, they were not faked. The real.
Oh my God. Richard, oh my goodness. He is so handsome and so intelligent as an actor. He brings so much of his own beliefs and his own philosophies and spirituality. You could see it in his eyes, especially in the scenes where he and I really had to connect, and there's some scenes where we're actually yelling at each other, and there's a lot of emotion being passed back and forth. And there's sometimes when you've worked with actors that they just can't reach that place so easily, and it becomes harder to connect with them. But Richard he reaches it so easily, and it just spills out of him, and I'm honestly honored to have worked with him and to share the screen with him, because He's a truly intellectual actor. He thinks through where emotionally he needs to be in a scene, and it's just my pleasure to be able to meet him there.
Yeah, well, Courtney, it's great to work with an actress that's loose and easy, and will take it off whenever you ask her to. And and if your boyfriend's out there, please don't hurt me. I'm just trying to be a little funny. You know what I'm saying? Wonderful actress. How lucky I am to be working with such a juicy, delightful, beautiful, tasty, cute, sexy woman at this stage in my career. I don't know what stage that is, but nevertheless, it's to be able to work with someone so delightful. So I thank you, Courtney. Thank you very, very much. And I was joking about being loose and taking it all off. So we had a lot of fun in our sex scenes, and she helped bring me out of my shyness. I've been cut off, from relationships ever since, the last relationship I had yesterday. And no, I'm actually being honest here. It's been a long time in between relationships because, like so many people, I've had a couple of really painful ones. So I've been really, really cut off, and it's really hard to jump into a love scene, a romantic context, and where you're having a lot of stuff happen on the set where it's very intimate and close and sexual, and usually in front of cameras, people tend to, especially women, tend to get very, very uncomfortable. But she was more comfortable than me. So I mean, she helped take me to another level.
Richard and I have to come crashing into his bedroom during a kissing scene. We were being very free with each other, which is something we discussed beforehand. We were just going to be, as actors, as people, just very free with one another. And
she made it very easy to get romantic, passionate, and turned on.
He pushed me up against this wall, and I just felt my head clunk, but it's in that moment where, if you were really in that heat of passion with somebody, you might not be thinking, ow, my head. So I just, it's not really funny as much as it is painful.
She wants the very best out of life, and she appreciates men, and she realizes a good man when she meets one, and obviously when she met me, she realized that she had a good thing going, so...
Erick Avari was one of the most incredible actors I've had the pleasure of working with as well, and I'm so thrilled that I got to work with him in this film, and the scenes that he and I had together in his office, in the coffee shop. He is hysterically funny and so amazingly talented, and if he gets to see this, if this winds up anywhere, I love you, Erick.
The more I was looking at her, the more beautiful she got. It was amazing, compelling, and of course that's the last thing you want to tell her because she's a doll. She's a doll, smart, beautiful, really, really smart. She's going to be a doctor, for God's sakes, Clearly a great upbringing, and it was a joy. This is what it's about,
Oh my God!
And then we see one after the other.
Yes.
Robert, he's such a gentleman. He's such a gentleman, and he just makes you feel so comfortable. And that is what directing is all about, is creating an environment that is conducive to creativity. He brings the best out in the actor. Just feel that comfortable and relaxed, and, again, leading to the ad-libs and so on and so forth, Diggity-doo. That's not a thing. It's an honest-to-goodness alien. Sweet. Muscular Jesus.
Sweet, muscular Jesus.
Thank you.
The line of the movie. Sweet.
All right, so lock me over there.
Sweet, muscular Jesus. What the hell was that? It took everything not to completely lose it. This man can ad-lib like nobody's business. I don't think anybody was expecting that, and it was a palpable intake of breath on the set because none of us wanted to ruin the take, but none of us could believe we had just heard Sweet Muscular Jesus.
My first. Feel like a virgin bride on a honeymoon.
A virgin bride.
I'm trying to get her out of here.
Oh my God.
She was up, right? She was up, yeah. We laughed. We just laughed all the way through. I mean, what more can you ask for? You want to?
Thank you. Here's your picture.
I think a regular win.
And action! No!
Oh yeah, there's a lot of physical things I've had to do. A lot of real physical. Thank God I stay in shape with my, I work out with my weights. I try to keep in shape. I run, I climb trees, I do every crazy thing imaginable under the sun. They always say, if you don't use it, you lose it. So use it. I've been fortunate in the past. I mean, we were doing a fight scene in this movie, and we were smacking around, and unfortunately, no matter how hard you try not to hurt each other, there's always a wild punch. And I certainly got smacked a couple of times, and a couple of times I didn't quite know where I was, and it took a second for me to remember, oh, I'm in a scene. Oh, I have a line here. Oh my God, I'm supposed to be...
No! Wait! Don't do it! Wait! Wait! Damn it! Son of a bitch! Oh! Bitch! Benjamin! Son of a bitch! Let me go!
It was turned out to be okay. I mean, I went home and I was all right, but you do get shaken up. But I was a football player. I was a gymnast. I was, I was really into karate. My son's into karate, kicks my ass most of the time. And I've watched the Ultimate Fighting Championship, so that's where I learn all my stuff. So I'm pretty damn bad when it comes to fighting. I've had a great time playing the role. I've never had to play such an emotionally wrenching role as this. And for all of you that watch movies, we don't just phone it in. It's you can just turn a little switch on and boom, it's all there. Maybe 1% of 1% of 1% of actors out there, especially the most fracked up ones, can get right to it. But it really forces you to dig in deep and go places that most of us never want to go. And I must say that it's really wore me out, exhausted me, and at the same time inspired me. So it's been a pretty powerful experience for me.
No, come over here. I don't want to hurt you. I just want to.
You don't scare me.
Not a great fan of needles.
No. Oh my goodness. I feel like there's something going on every day.
That's really good. It's amazing. Yes,
Hello, E. We're here on the set of Inalienable. Cut.
All right.
Nobody can say the name of
Monkeys are here.
Excited about working with monkeys?
Yes, I just want to be able to pet it. I just want to touch it, pet it. They said one of them's really friendly.
Okay. Monkeys, it's all about monkeys.
Okay.
Humans, monkeys, same thing. When it comes down to sex, that is.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And eating. Sex and eating. Monkeys. Humans. Oh, you don't think so? So what do you...
Not on camera,
So tell the folks at home what you think the difference is between monkeys and humans when it comes to sex and eating.
Well, I don't know. These monkeys were eating gummy bears and Twizzlers like I do. And they were jumping around when they were happy like I do. So... If anything, I would say probably just that I know how to shave my legs. That's about it.
I'm just looking at the monkeys. Oh my God, this is scary. Her.
No, not at all. She's flirting with you. She's pretty. I like her.
Bye, please. Pictures up. Pictures up. Okay. Here we go, everyone.
Little monkeys, they were all over us. They were all over everybody on the set. They were very, very cute.
I absolutely love the monkeys. They are probably the second most fun animal I've ever had the opportunity to work with.
Courtney, she loves animals. She's got 6 dogs. I think she's got chickens. She's got snakes. She's got rats. She's got, every little creature known to God. I think she's building Noah's Ark.
It says he has elephants and tigers on his property.
Tigers?
Horses. I'm a girly girl. Oh, and then I actually got to work with dolphins once too. But these monkeys were just amazing. Ripley and Abby, I remember their names. And they were, I think Abby kind of like we got it. We kind of liked each other. She was like flirting and jumping around and like looked me right in the eye. And it is truly amazing what they were capable of doing. And they curl their hands around your little finger. It was great. I love animals, so.
So I gotta get a bodysuit on her because there's an alternate version of where she's pregnant.
Oh, I didn't see. Oh.
Sorry, guys. I was.
Big lunch.
Okay, here we go. Back to one. Please, guys. Back to one.
This is so weird.
Okay.
I can't see my shoes. What? You know, it's got a little heft to it because it's all like stuffed material.
You're pregnant with a sequel. That's what it is.
Wondering if they're trying to. Tell me that wasn't like,
One, 2, 3.
Yeah, hey, let's see a monkey do that, okay? Yeah.
But you can find that on the internet.
Oh, good. Oh, no.
They're small and they live in a jungle that's full of deadly.
Then move on to our presidents. So cute.
Oh yeah, let's get a good example.
It's a challenge. That works pretty. Would you go down by Ashley Cook? She's like 20 feet off the window, right there.
1:15 in the morning, way past my bedtime. I'm having fun. Wonderful guy, terrific actor, Battlestar guy. Yeah, no, he's very good in this role. He's very good in this role. I think it's going to be a shining moment for him. I really do. Chekhov. Well, that's how we know him, isn't it? That's how we know him. I mean, he's a great guy, and I think he's written something really, really interesting. Inalienable, I don't know. I don't know why it's called that, but it is, and that might be. I'm still trying to figure it out. Still working on why it's called that, but I like it. I think it's a good story, and I think it talks about about what goes on in our government. Things are legal because they say they are, they say they're not. And that blind faith in your government or in anything could get you killed or at least in trouble. So it's, Walter's really tapped on something here with this. We'll see. See how it goes. No expectations. I just want to make a good movie, and if it's good, then good enough. Whether it goes straight to DVD or it gets on a network or nothing ever happens with it. As long as we did the best we could and Walter is happy, the writer, of course, I'd like to see him be happy with it. And that's it. Big smile. Just got this brand new device, $8,000. It's we're miniaturizing everything in the sound department. I'm recording the entire feature and 8 features after this, all onto this little flash drive.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
No.
A young alien boy, new to this world, and traveled many thousands and millions of miles across the universe to crash on this wonderful planet and become Benjamin. Well, I think Benjamin is a lovable, monster. It's a long process. It's not so bad. I've done worse. It's actually not as uncomfortable as a lot of people might think. It's taken anywhere from 2.5 hours to 5 hours, depending on who might be doing it. Plugged up in the face here. I can only breathe out of my mouth. It's fun, but it's challenging. Anything that's a challenge is not boring. So with a lot of air conditioning and fans, it helps. And I end up visiting a lot of people, and they can't get enough of this little alien. I'm having a lot of fun doing it. It's awfully arrogant to think we're the only ones out here in this universe. So everybody's been great. The crew, just been a wonderful experience. I'm just so glad to be part of it. My parents started sending me to acting school when I was still like 6, 7 years old. Signed me up for some university classes in Wisconsin at University of Milwaukee, and took some acting lessons, which led to some plays, it led to some commercials, it led to, what I'm doing today. So, you never know what God is creating for you. You just got to be open to it.
expensive. Pay per towel. I like that.
Woo! I can see and I can breathe. Wow, it's amazing. I'm 36 till Christmas Day. No, 24.
Kind of got the chachi going on.
I'm only 10.